Arab billionaire laughed at her. Cure me for $1 billion. Tariq Al-Mansour's voice echoed across the sterling oak courtyard like thunder. His words cut through the cold October air, accompanied by laughter from the 7 guests around the table. $1,200 a bottle champagne glasses clinked in celebration. But no one was laughing louder than Tariq, sitting in his custom carbon wheelchair that cost more than a new car. A few feet away, shivering in the 54-degree cold, Dorothy Washington stood. 72 years old, black, homeless, barefoot, wearing a torn jacket that no longer protected her. Her calloused hands held a stained plastic bag containing everything she owned in the world. She had just left the restaurant's garbage area, looking for food scraps, when she heard the cry of pain coming from the courtyard. "Sir, please," Dorothy said, her voice trembling but firm. "I can help with your leg. I've seen this before. I know what to do." Tariq looked her up and down. He saw her bare feet stained with dirt, her wrinkled skin, her unkempt gray hair. He saw someone the world had long since discarded. Someone invisible. Someone who didn't matter. "You." He laughed even louder. "A homeless old woman is going to heal me? I have 3 surgeons who say my leg will never work properly again. But you, who don't even have a place to sleep, what exactly do you think you can do?" 20 minutes earlier, everything had been perfect. Sterling Oak was buzzing with Chicago's elite celebrating the biggest real estate deal of the decade. Tariq Al-Mansour, 58, had just closed a $200 million deal. The city's most exclusive restaurant had been reserved for the occasion. String lights sparkled over the heated patio. Waiters served food that cost more than most people's monthly salary. But then the pain came. Sudden. Brutal. Absolute. Tariq's left leg locked up completely. It became stiff as wood, his foot turned at an impossible angle. He couldn't move it. Not an inch. The pain shot up his thigh like liquid fire. His face paled. Sweat broke out on his forehead despite the cold. Brandon, his assistant, half stood up. "I can't move my leg," Tariq said through clenched teeth. "Nothing. It's completely locked." Panic erupted at the table. Someone shouted to call an ambulance. Victoria was already on the phone. "Yes, emergency at Sterling Oak. 58-year-old man, suddenly paralyzed leg. Could be stroke." 18 minutes, she said after listening. "The ambulance will be here in 18 minutes. 18 minutes of agony." Tariq grabbed his leg with both hands, trying to force it to move. Nothing. As if it were no longer part of him. As if it had turned to stone. That's when Dorothy appeared. She emerged from the shadows near the trash area, drawn by the noise. She had been rummaging through Sterling Oak's trash for weeks, ever since the shelter on Harrison Street closed due to lack of funds. At 72, after working as a nurse for 40 years before it all fell apart, Dorothy knew despair when she saw it. And she recognized that paralysis immediately. "Sir," she approached the iron fence separating the courtyard from the service area. "I worked in hospitals for 40 years. Your leg isn't having a stroke. It's a gluteal muscle spasm compressing the sciatic nerve. I can release it in seconds if you let me try." Tariq stared at her. For a moment, something in her face made him hesitate. There was knowledge there. Certainty. But then he saw her bare feet, the dirt, the age, the color of her skin, and all his assumptions returned. "How long would your miracle take?" he asked, his voice thick with sarcasm. 18 seconds, Dorothy replied. "Maybe 20. Constant pressure on the right spot. The nerve releases almost instantly." Laughter erupted. Not just from Tariq's table, but from the neighboring tables as well. The idea was too absurd. A 72-year-old homeless woman curing in seconds what 3 surgeons said was permanent. Tariq picked up his checkbook. His hands trembled with pain, but he managed to write it out. $1 billion. He held the check up in the air for all to see. "Perfect. Heal me in your magical seconds, and I'll give you $1 billion. His voice grew harsher. "But when you fail, and you will fail because this is ridiculous, security will call the police. You'll spend the night in jail for trespassing. And you'll never come back to this neighborhood again. Got it, old lady?" Dorothy looked at the check. She looked at Tariq writhing in pain. She looked at the 7 guests laughing, at the cell phones already recording, at the 40 customers at other tables watching the show. She thought of her daughter, Angela. 43 years old, dead 8 months ago from cancer because she didn't have insurance for proper treatment. She thought of her grandchildren, whom she hadn't seen in 2 years, taken to foster homes when Dorothy lost her apartment. She thought of 40 years saving lives, only for the world to decide that at 72, homeless and black, she was worthless. I accept, Dorothy said calmly. But I don't want your billion. I just want you to remember that you let me try. Something in her voice made the courtyard fall silent. It wasn't defiance. It was something deeper. It was dignity that no circumstance had been able to break. Tarek waved to the security guard. Let her in. I want everyone to see this. Dorothy walked through the gate. Her bare feet made no sound on the marble floor. She approached Tarek, who watched her with barely concealed contempt. Around them, at least 20 cell phones were recording. This would be on social media in seconds. The humiliation would be public, viral, permanent. I'm going to need to touch your leg, Dorothy said. It's going to hurt more before it gets better. But you need to stand still and trust me. Can you do that? If you're following this story of unlikely courage, subscribe to the channel, because what's about to happen will challenge everything you thought you knew about who deserves to be heard in this world. Dorothy washed her hands at the service station, the waiter pointed out. 30 full seconds, between each finger, under her nails, up to her wrists. Methodically, professionally, as she had done thousands of times in 40 years of nursing. People watched in silence, surprised by the precision of her movements. She returned and knelt beside Tarek's chair. Even kneeling, her back ached. 72 years of sleeping on concrete had taken its toll. But her hands were still steady as they began to feel the area around his hip. It's going to hurt when I find the spot, she warned. Your muscle is rock hard. The nerve is being crushed underneath it. Her hands moved with surprising precision. Greater trochanter, iliac crest, gluteal edges. She felt through the expensive fabric of his pants, identifying anatomical landmarks with the familiarity of decades of practice. Then her hands stopped. Here, she pressed lightly. Tarek flinched. The muscle is in complete spasm. That's why your leg is locked up. The sciatic nerve runs right underneath here. When the muscle contracts like this, it crushes the nerve. That's why you can't move. Brandon leaned closer, still recording. How do you know that? Dorothy didn't take her eyes off Tarek's leg. I worked in the emergency room at Cook County Hospital from 1975 to 2015. 40 years. I've seen this kind of sciatic paralysis a couple hundred times. Most people think it's a stroke. It's not. It's mechanical. Muscle compressing nerve. And it's totally reversible if you know where to press. If you were a nurse, Victoria asked carefully, how did you end up? She left the question hanging. Dorothy answered without looking up. My husband died in 2010. Medical debt. I lost my house. My daughter got sick in 2024. Cancer. I spent everything I had trying to pay for treatment. She died in March. 8 months ago. I was 71, no savings, no home. Social services took my grandchildren because homeless people can't have custody. Her voice remained steady. But I still know how to do my job. The silence in the courtyard was absolute. Even Tarek had stopped laughing. Dorothy positioned both thumbs 2 centimeters below the hip bone, on the side of the gluteal muscle. Exactly where the anatomy diagram she had memorized decades ago showed. 45-degree angle. 8 to 12 pounds of pressure. 15 to 30 seconds duration. When I press, you all count out loud, Dorothy instructed. It helps keep time. And Mr. Al-Mansour, this is going to hurt a lot. A lot. But don't push me. Don't move. Just breathe and count. Tarek nodded, jaw clenched. His hand gripped the arm of the chair hard enough to make his knuckles white. Ready? Dorothy asked. Do it. Dorothy pressed down. Not gently. With full force, her 128 pounds concentrated on 2 thumbs, right on the trigger point, perfect angle, relentless pressure. Tarek's scream cut through the night. 1, Victoria began to count, her voice trembling. 2, Brandon joined in. 3, Thomas shouted. Soon the whole table was counting. Then the neighboring tables. 40 people counting in unison as a 72-year-old woman pressed her thumbs into a billionaire's hip and he sweated, groaned, clutched the chair as if it would collapse. 4, 5, 6. The muscle beneath Dorothy's thumbs was dense as concrete. She could feel the nerve underneath, compressed, screaming. Her arms trembled with the effort. At 72, maintaining this pressure was brutal. But she didn't let up. Not one bit. 7, 8, 9. Tarek's face was red, veins bulging on his forehead. Sweat dripped despite the 11 degrees. His breathing came in short, desperate bursts. 10, 11, 12. Dorothy felt it. A subtle change. The density beginning to give way. Wood turning into something softer. The muscle beginning to release after minutes of spasm. 13, 14, 15. Clearer now. The muscle yielding. She kept the pressure on, steady, relentless, exactly as the protocol demanded. 16, 17. And then it happened. Crack. The sound was audible. Clear. Distinct. Like bone snapping, but deeper. Coming from inside the body. The muscle releasing the nerve all at once. 18. Tarek's entire body arched. His head threw back. A sound tore from his throat, half scream, half sob of relief. The pain, he gasped. It's gone. The pain is completely gone. Dorothy stepped back, her hands shaking. 18 seconds. Exactly as she had said. Tarek looked at his left leg as if it belonged to someone else. He tried to move his toes. They moved. All 5 of them. Normally. He rotated his ankle. Full range of motion. No pain. He bent his knee. Straightened it. Bent it again. Normal. As if the last 30 minutes of paralysis had never happened. The courtyard exploded. People were screaming, jumping out of their chairs. Cell phones were capturing everything from 20 different angles. Brandon checked the video timestamp, from 8:48 and 40 seconds p.m. to 8:48 and 58 seconds p.m. 18 seconds exactly. Filmed, timed, impossible to deny. I can move, Tarek whispered, still in disbelief. My leg, it's completely normal. He pushed off the arms of the chair. Slowly, uncertainly, like a baby learning to walk, he stood up. Weight on both feet. Both working. Both holding. He took a step. Then another. 4 full steps before stopping, staring at his own legs as if they were magic. 6 weeks stuck in that chair. 3 surgeons saying the damage was permanent. And a 72-year-old homeless woman fixed it in 18 seconds with her thumbs. Victoria ran to Dorothy, pulling her into a hug so fierce it took her breath away. You did it. My God, you really did it. But Dorothy looked at Tarek with a strange expression. Not triumphant. Tired. As if something heavy had finally been put down. Mr. Al-Mansour, she said softly. Can I have my billion now? The courtyard fell silent. Everyone looked at Tarek. He was still holding the check, now crumpled in his hand. $1 billion. Written, signed, witnessed by 40 people, and recorded by 20 cell phones. Tarek looked at the check. At Dorothy. Back at the check. Then he started to laugh. Not the cruel laugh from before. Something different. Broken. Almost hysterical. Do you really want this? He asked, holding out the check. $1 billion. Dorothy took a step forward. She took the check with hands that trembled slightly. She looked at it for a long moment. Then, carefully, meticulously, she tore it in half. Then into quarters. Then into smaller pieces. She let the fragments fall like confetti onto the white towel. I don't want your money, she said. I never did. I just wanted you to remember, for the rest of your life, that the person you treated like trash was the one who saved you when no one else could. The impact of the words was physical. Tarek staggered as if he had been hit. Brandon looked at his phone. The video I posted has 500,000 views. No wait. 800,000. It's going viral. Around the courtyard, others checked their phones. Expressions of shock. Twitter, trending worldwide. Hashtag homeless woman miracle. TikTok, 2 million in 10 minutes. CNN just picked it up. Front page. A news van skidded into the parking lot. WPVI Action News. Reporter Dana Wallace rushed out, microphone in hand, camera behind her. Mr. Almansour. Is it true? A homeless woman healed you in 18 seconds. But Tariq wasn't listening. He was kneeling in front of Dorothy, now at her height, eyes level. Tears streamed freely down his face. My father, he said, his voice breaking. My father was a janitor at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore. Night shift, midnight to 8 in the morning, for 30 years. And every night he read medical journals that doctors threw away. He watched procedures through the windows. He asked doctors questions during cigarette breaks. He taught himself medicine just like you did. He held Dorothy's hands. But he never got his chance. No one saw him. No one cared that a janitor knew more medicine than some residents. He died at 53, still pushing that mop. Angry at a world that never saw him. Tariq squeezed her hands tighter. I built my entire company vowing never to be powerless like he was. Then I ended up in that chair tonight. Powerless anyway. And you, sleeping under a bridge, saved me using the same methods he used. It's as if he sent you. As if the universe gave me a chance to do for you what no one did for him. He stood up, pulled out his phone. Dr. Patricia Moore? Tariq Almansour. I need you at Sterling Oak now. Yes, now. Bring admission papers for your medical observation program. I have someone you need to meet. He hung up, dialed again. Andrew? I booked a suite at the Fairmont, Philadelphia. Tonight. Fully furnished. No, it's not for me. It's for someone who's been on the streets too long. Charge it to me. Another number. Jim, first thing Monday morning. I need an educational fund. $2 million. Beneficiary Dorothy Washington. Covering everything she'll need for the rest of her life. Housing, medical care, education if she wants to go back to work. Everything. Dorothy stood completely still, processing. And Jim, Tariq continued, another $500,000 from Hamilton Properties to Cook County Hospital. A special fund to hire back senior nurses. People like Dorothy that the system discarded, but who still have decades of knowledge. We'll call it the Angela Washington Fund. In honor of her daughter. He hung up, looked at Dorothy. She was crying now. Silent tears running down deep wrinkles. Why? She whispered. An hour ago you wanted to arrest me. Because you gave me my life back, Tariq said simply. And because my father would be 78 now. Exactly your age. And doing this for you is doing it for him. It's justice. It's the right thing to do. Dana Wallace captured it all live. Her viewership count, 7 million. The story spreading through Philadelphia, through Pennsylvania, through America, through the world. A 72-year-old woman, a billionaire in a wheelchair, 18 seconds that changed 2 lives and would reverberate through thousands more. 3 months later, Dorothy Washington stood behind a podium at Cook County Hospital. Her gray hair was now clean and neat, her clothes simple but dignified, her eyes clear and rested for the first time in years. In front of her, 200 people filled the auditorium. Doctors, nurses, residents, students. All there to listen. My name is Dorothy Washington, she began, her voice steady. I am 72 years old. 3 months ago, I was sleeping under the Harrison Street Bridge. Today, I am here as a senior consultant for this hospital's emergency medicine program, teaching protocols that save lives in seconds. The audience applauded. Tariq, sitting in the front row, discreetly wiped his eyes. 6 months later, the Angela Washington Clinic opened its doors on a cold April morning. Dorothy cut the ribbon alongside Tariq and Dr. Patricia Moore. The clinic's logo featured a stopwatch set at 18 seconds with the motto, because seconds matter. Because everyone deserves to be heard. They saw 187 patients in the first month. People who had been ignored. People who couldn't afford to be heard. People like her daughter Angela, finally receiving care. A year later, Dorothy was in a small apartment she visited every Saturday. Not hers, a subsidized apartment where she now lived with her 2 grandchildren, reunited after she regained custody. This one was different. Smaller, simpler, in a neighborhood that many avoided. 23 people sat in a circle around her. Homeless, in precarious housing situations, invisible to everyone except Dorothy, who saw each one of them. She taught basic anatomy, first aid, medical terminology. How to observe. How to remember. How to think like doctors, even when the world said they would never be doctors. A boy, maybe 11, asked, "Mrs. Washington, why do you come back here every week? You got out. You're safe now. Why help us?" Dorothy looked at the faces around her. She saw herself in each one. Because someone finally saw me when I was invisible. Someone finally listened when no one else would. Now I see you. All of you. And I'm going to make sure the world sees you too. An 8-year-old girl asked timidly, "Can you really teach us to be doctors?" Dorothy smiled. "I can teach you to think like doctors. To see what others miss. To remember what matters. To care when caring seems pointless. The rest, school, diplomas, licenses, that's just paperwork. If I made it from under that bridge to Cook County Hospital, every one of you can too. I promise." That same year, Cook County created the Dorothy Washington Scholarship Program for exceptional circumstances. Full scholarships for homeless or disadvantaged individuals demonstrating extraordinary aptitude despite impossible circumstances. 5 recipients per year, every year. Dorothy, at 73, helped interview candidates. She sat on the committee. She had a vote. She was treated as an equal. One candidate was a 9-year-old girl who taught herself computer engineering at the library, building solar-powered water purifiers for homeless encampments using recycled electronics. Dorothy asked, "When do you want to start school?" The girl smiled for the first time during the entire interview. "Monday." Dorothy smiled back. "Monday, sweetie. I'll meet you at the entrance. You're going to love it here." The echo spreading forward. Always forward. Tariq Al-Mansour never sat in that wheelchair again. He donated it to a hospital with a plaque, "Healed in 18 seconds by Dorothy Washington, who taught me that genius has no address and wisdom wears no uniform." Every year, on the anniversary of that October night, Tariq and Dorothy had dinner together at Sterling Oak. Not on the patio. Inside, at the main table, where everyone could see them. And every year, Tariq would tell the story again to anyone who would listen. The story of how he was dying of pain and arrogance when a woman he treated like trash saved him in 18 seconds. "Some miracles take 18 seconds, he always ended. But the ripples last for generations." Dorothy Washington died peacefully at the age of 86, surrounded by grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and dozens of students whose lives she had transformed. The week of her funeral, 142 people she had taught, sheltered, or inspired returned. Doctors, nurses, engineers, teachers. All who had started out invisible and become unforgettable. Cook County Hospital named its new emergency wing after her. Above the entrance, engraved in bronze, Dorothy Washington, who taught us that everyone deserves to be seen, everyone deserves to be heard, and 18 seconds can change the world. If this story touched you, if it reminded you that genius has no address and dignity has no price, subscribe to the channel. Help us share stories where the invisible become unforgettable. Because sometimes the most unlikely hands carry the deepest wisdom. And sometimes, all someone needs is a chance to prove that they always deserve to be heard.